Quick shout out from our sponsor, Sheer ID. Are you trying to boost conversions to your Shopify store? Need to drive more customer loyalty? Get results fast by offering exclusive discounts to consumer communities with Sheer ID. Sheer ID helps verify students, teachers, military, first responders, and so much more of these groups. With Sheer ID, you'll get a verified match in seconds. You can spit out an exclusive discount for customers on the spot. Try speaking directly to a new customer segment with this verifiable identity without adding friction to the shopping experience. Continue to drive incremental revenue in the next 90 days post-purchase with more tailored messaging for your email and SMS campaigns. I personally tested ShareID to see just how easy it was to get set up, and I was pretty much ready to go in under 15 minutes. The onboarding was simple enough for me to follow as a non-technical person. Go to sheerid.com/Shopify and start your free trial today. Once again, that's sheerid.com/Shopify and start your free trial today. It's great stuff. We both tried it. We both like it.
Honest to God, I've been drinking nothing else for 3 months. I shit you not. I think in like February, I tweeted saying I was having issues with caffeine and I was just like a jittery mess. And Greg replied to me like, "Well, just try this. If it's no good, I'll refund you." Honestly, I haven't stopped since. It's fantastic. I love it.
Go to noowave.co and use pod10 for 10% off your order. That is noowave.co and use code pod10 for 10% off your entire order. Hello and welcome to the Brand Builders Podcast. We have Tom Brown and myself, Matt Lady, as your co-hosts. Each week, we'll have a catch-up and open forum chit-chat about how our businesses, careers, and what's our minds in the D2C land. What we're struggling with, what we're winning with. We just want to show you the ups and the downs, the good and the bad from building a brand. Tom, welcome to the show. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm doing well. We're just getting a little bit more interest about head of growth stuff and opened it up to Twitter. And in the first hour, I got 3 people reached out to me to connect. So beyond that one job I was talking about last time, got some more opportunities to kind of check out. So really cool. Excited to meet with people in the next week or so about all that.
Very cool. Anything you can kind of talk to yet, or are we still sort of in the pipeline?
Not yet. A little too early. Just brand new opportunities. Some of them I don't even know fully yet. Some of them kind of give me a little glimpse. But yeah, definitely some good stuff in case that first one doesn't pan out. So
good stuff.
Yeah, excited for that. So we were just about to start talking before we hit record, and it was really good conversation. So I said, "Stop, Tom, we gotta hit record." So you were talking and meeting with people, and this came up, and you're talking about how ads, shipping, a lot of costs are just a lot cheaper and a lot more affordable and accessible for brands distributing to the UK and Europe and this like overseas for a lot of like US based brands. Like, tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me about your experience and like, where are we coming from? How are we going to get started on this?
Definitely do. I mean, selfishly, I kind of want to keep this like a little secret of my own little world. It's kind of nice, but equally, I don't have the bandwidth to do it all. So like, I mean, yeah, I've worked with a lot of brands in the UK, actually predominantly in the US, and it's been kind of a process over the last few years. Not many of them. Like just bringing a few product ideas that have got like really good product market fit in the US, bringing them over to the UK and almost like replicating that model or, positioning them under a slightly different brand. And you're right, what you just said, like the ad costs here are astronomically cheaper compared to the US, whether that's Facebook, Google or anything else. Shipping costs are stupid cheap compared to the US. I can tell you, like on one of the brands we've got, like next day shipping, I think costs us £1.64. Which, to put in retrospect, is like probably about $2-3. That's like everything, box, product, like everything. Next day, delivered anywhere in the United Kingdom. Like the confusing aspect I think most people start to run into is like VAT, which is a sales tax essentially in the UK and Europe, which it can definitely trip a lot of people up. Particularly like US merchants coming across to the UK, it's something that's typically included in the price. So whereas in the US, you might get to the counter and like get to checkout, and then you pay sales tax on top of that. A price that you see in the UK and Europe typically includes sales tax. So it's not a direct comparison. It's why very often like prices here look like they're 20% higher versus the US. But by and large, like yes, it's a smaller market. if you're just looking at the UK, like just native English speakers versus the US, it's what 60, 70 million people versus 310. It's a smaller market. We're less capitalist, I would say, but there is still like an enormous amount of people here to reach. And I mean, the way I've kind of always looked at the UK, and it's the gap is getting smaller, but we've always been like somewhere between like 2 to 5 years behind the US. You can almost watch the wave come across. Something blows up in the US. I mean, from my own experience, was like early 2010s, like 2010 through 2012, like Quest bars, etc. The protein world, the supplement world was just exploding in the US, and the UK hadn't really caught on. I was one of the earlier importers of Quest bars, bringing those in around like 2014, 2015, and they were just taking off like a rocket. The US had already had like this swell, or was still in the midst of it, and the UK was just starting to pick up. And I've kind of watched that habit happen again and again and again. But it works beautifully. So it's getting shorter. We're seeing stuff happen in the US into like 12 to 24 months until it arrives on the UK shores. But there's definitely like this gap of look at what's happening in the US and just look at, is there anyone even doing it in the United Kingdom? And by and large, like, no, we're not. I'm kind of going on a bit of a tangent here, but like, typically I wouldn't say we're that entrepreneurially minded here in the UK. We're far more risk averse. So for those that are willing to take a bit of a step out and try and figure it out, like, there's a big opportunity here.
Okay.
I think.
So that's a good starting point. And thanks for breaking that down for us. So let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. Is it both, or is it one of the two that I'm about to say? Is it both? You're saying US brands should expand into the UK and set up systems and structure and infrastructure and have a UK website and all that stuff too? Or is it just look at what a product or brand is doing in the US and launch your own competitive, kind of on its own standalone thing in the
Honestly,
UK version?
It's a good question. It's truly, I think it's a bit of both. If I'm a US merchant and I think I've hit any kind of saturation in the United States, or frankly, even if I haven't, like if I've just got some momentum, some kind of audience that is growing in the US, whether it's just opening up like Shopify markets, if you're using Shopify on the back end, just like building a dedicated site, or just a dedicated experience that is for UK shoppers or European shoppers, I would definitely suggest that. Even if you're still shipping from the United States, like just test it. If you see any kind of traction, like just go to a 3PL. I mean, for instance, I use Hutch in London, but like go to those guys, just open up that side of it and put some product in a UK warehouse so that you're getting like 1 or 2 day shipping if you see traction. But yeah, on the flip side, like there's definitely, I think, a lot of opportunity for people in the UK that are looking at the US to look at like what's working, where is the product market fit, what are the brands that are actually starting to take off, what are the products that are taking off in the US. Because by and large, I swear to God, obviously just one guy's opinion, random dude on the internet, but I definitely see things that do come across within like 2 to 5 years. I think you can be really early to it.
Interesting. That's fascinating, man. And you're saying it's starting to get a little quicker. You mentioned 12 to 24 months for some things now and these trends. But you said it's about what, 1/5 the size of the US? Or public math is awful. Don't do it. But I just tried. It's about 20% of the total US market. But I like the point about just flipping up. It's not that simple. I don't think it's as simple as clicking a button. There's a little bit more thought to it. But the UK markets and Shopify, and then eventually like finding somewhere to have someone store your products and ship it out for you there. But it's really good stuff. And I think that's something I think a lot of brands, like, especially if you're hell-bent on staying D2C and you don't want to go into retail, then I kind of think that by definition, you will eventually have to explore other areas of the world, especially if you're just US. Yeah. Depending on your category, depending on your goals and your ambitions and all this stuff, like, and just another random guy on the internet with a microphone. I think eventually, if you want to get a sizable, bigger brand, and we're talking tens of millions of dollars, and like 8 figures and beyond, and I'm not saying you need to do this right away, but I think it makes more sense, and it's might be cheaper. Like you said, ad costs are cheaper, shipping is cheaper. Yeah, you might not get as much scale that way, but if you're the first one there and kind of make your little mark and get a lot of those people, and you're able to do it more efficiently, it might be worth the time and effort. So I see what you're saying, and I think it's really neat, really something to consider.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, Dad, thanks for bringing that up and holding on to your thoughts so we can talk about it with the recording on. So moving on, we got a follow-up for Black Friday, Cyber Monday prep and planning. Last week, I kind of scared the shit out of you by saying 96 days. But I think it said 96 days, and now it's 89.
You said 87. You scared the bejesus out of me. But
yeah. So it's coming up. It's a week later. So what have you done since then? What's on your mind? What are you thinking about? How are you approaching this as we're still a couple months out? You still got some time.
I guess to go sometime. Honestly, I think you kind of brought it up last week. Like the first thing I went and did was just got more inventory. Like immediately just went and talked to manufacturers and like, I need more now. Like yesterday.
Sorry, you need more, but like how much more? Like what did you base that off of? Like, is it from last year? Is it from this current year? Hey dude, just give me more, give me more product. like how did you get to that point, and kind of how can we help other people think about that? Is it as simple as, give me 4x, like what I've been doing? I don't know.
So it's a bit of a process. I mean, by and large, it's been going back to sales for last year, if I'm honest. Looking at if I've got that data. Typically, if I've got a year's worth of data, I'm looking at last year. If I've got 2 to 5 years, I'm looking at the whole thing and really just seeing what sort of growth have we done over Q3, Q4. I'll be honest, I'm being a little bit conservative. I think the more I read, the more I kind of listen to other experts in this space, the people that are far ahead of me and far more successful than me, running multitudes of bigger brands than I am. I'm desperately just trying to get information from them and figure out what are they seeing, where are they expecting this to go. By and large, I think, and we may all be completely wrong, I think it's a case of assume you might see some growth from last year, but if so, not a lot. It's probably going to be flat. If anything, it may actually shrink, which is okay. So yeah, I'm kind of looking at okay, what did we do last year? Let me get enough stock in so that we can at least match that, maybe an additional 10%. I think for me personally, I think if we hit the same targets as last year, so hit the same sort of KPIs as last year, I would be happy. To if we don't actually grow in Q4 this year, that's okay. I think we're actually going to be more profitable. We've pulled back just in the last few weeks, kind of across the board, of pulling back on ad costs just to really see. Is there more efficiency that to be had? And really just looking at, I mean, it's kind of been a recurring conversation you and I have had for the last few weeks of just looking at the efficiencies in the business and where is the waste? How much are we overspending on, whether it be Facebook ads, Google ads? Have we got a ton of leads on email lists that really shouldn't be there anymore? These people haven't done anything in a couple of years. Why are we still paying for these subscription numbers? Looking at apps, I'll be honest, kind of just going through my own stores of looking at stuff of had this installed for 12 months, the landscape has changed. There are so many competitors that have popped up, and as much as I might know the founding teams behind a lot of these apps, and I'll be honest, I always get told about this. I feel shitty as all hell because I may have a great relationship, and I'm literally emailing these people I love you, I love what you've built, but chances are unless we can kind of match the price, I'm gonna uninstall and go get something else. And it's nothing personal. This really is just a case of this is business at this point, which sucks.
Yeah,
but it's doing that as a whole, just looking at the efficiencies.
Okay, so it's nothing personal. It sucks. That's a double-edged sword of being so connected and involved in the space and Shopify and D2C land and Twitter and all this stuff. It's really not personal. I like the product. It's purely hey, I got to cut costs somewhere. And this other app is basically the same thing, maybe not quite the same, or I have to get used to the workflow or the interface, but it's going to save me $2,000 a year. That adds up. So that's tough.
That's kind of the thing. It's those kind of decisions I'm looking at. It's not the $5 or $10 a month app. It's the ones where we're paying $3, $4, $5, maybe $1,000 a month. And it's maybe this needs to change.
Right. So you're looking at apps, you're looking at inventory, you're looking at the past years, you're ordering, your mind is kind of at, if we match last year's numbers, that's great. That's good. Especially in this recession, we're coming down, adjusting from the huge spike from the pandemic, all that sort of stuff. And you're lowering ad costs. So if you hit the same, like you said, if you hit the same revenue target, you might make more money. Like you said, might be more profitable because you're spending a little bit less on ads. So that's good. So then after you ordered more inventory, what else are you thinking about as we're a couple months out?
So it's now starting to look at like, okay, it's kind of contrary to what I've just talked about in some ways. I mean, it's hopefully make a little sense in a second. It's like, how do we now start to build the lists and prep the lists while ad costs are not astronomical? We're still in Q3. It's time recording is right at the end of August, I think. Mm-hmm. September here. So like, ad costs, we're not into November, we're not into really like October when we start to see them spiking. So it's like, okay, how do I buy those leads right now? How do I get people into my funnel that are interested and get them onto my list? So I'm cleaning out everyone that I don't think is going to convert. I'm starting to now pull in, and I'm starting to go far more aggressive on how do I ask for referrals from existing customers? How do I make sure that people are talking about the brand more? How am I giving like incentives to get people to just talk about us, share us, build like some kind of virality? And I'm not talking like millions of views. I'm like, how do I get one customer to go and tell 3? And build that out so that, then as we get into October, we'll then start running like more in the way of email and SMS campaigns on lists that we own and getting people kind of excited that there is something coming around Black Friday. So let's start building those early birds. Let's start getting people into more of a cadence in the fact that like, they're used to getting like a weekly email from us, and we're at the bottom of every single one, like just teasing, like if you're thinking about buying, like maybe hold off, like there's something coming.
Okay. So now you're kind of thinking of you're in the preparing and planning phase. You got your inventory. You're going to start teasing it out. You're trying to think of how to build up the email and SMS lists. And you're trying to talk to them. I love the point about not trying to go viral. You're trying to get one person to tell 3. Like if half of your customers did that, that adds up a crap ton. So that's a really good way to thinking about it. One thing that came to my mind while you were talking, and I was listening to you, but my mind also took a little detour about maybe just literally thinking and this is not a new idea. I'm sure I heard this from somewhere else before, but making like a close friends list on Instagram or these platforms. And it's like, hey, if you want to sign up and get early access and VIP access, like if you want to make sure you hear from us, like let us know. We'll add you to our close friends so that, that little bubble that shows up in their top of the stories, like that's free, right? That just takes time. And if you're budget conscious, you were talking about cutting these costs, that's if someone likes going on Instagram and spends an hour or 2 a day on Instagram, that's just as good, or if not better, than a text message or an email. Yeah. So just try to like meet, depending on where your brand is at, where your customers hang out, where your community is, in air quotes, like that's just another way to think about it. So that idea came to mind. It's not too costly, but it takes more time. But
it definitely takes more time. I mean, actually, you even talking about that. The biggest example I can think of is Obvi, their Facebook community. And I don't know if you've ever looked at it. I don't know if you've joined it. I mean, be honest, I joined it purely from a selfish point of view of like, I want to know how the hell these guys are using this. It's a community of like, 50, 60,000 of their customers at this point. And the 2 founders of Obvi are in there all the time talking about like new products, things that they're testing, things that they're considering even making. They do like either a daily or like a live weekly call where they just get people to come on, ask questions, give feedback on the product, give feedback on the brand. Like, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? And then they'll kind of pitch like, here's what we're thinking about bringing out next. Here's what we're thinking about doing for Black Friday. Is this something you guys would be interested in? And they, as much as like they're getting feedback from the audience, like they're exciting their customers at the same time. They're just building this swell of momentum. And you're right, like it's basically free. It takes time. You got to actually go in there, and I think it's the hardest part most people seem to miss is like you have to actually care about the customer. It's not just a Facebook acquisition at this point. It's like, how do I drive these real human beings into this Facebook group and like live and die by what they believe, and just be there for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. They've done a ton of posts and threads and talking about their Facebook community success and what they do, and you talked about a lot of them. So it's like you can use that chance to even test the offers, not even just new products. Like, hey, like that's one thing. Like you're talking about most of the year. Hey, we're thinking about this new product, this new flavor, this new product line, right? Like there's those things you can talk about. But I'm thinking as we head towards Black Friday, like, hey, did you like what we did last year with this buy two, get two free? Or do you want to bundle? What do you guys like? How can we best make you guys spend the most money without saying that? Like, what do you guys want from us? So that way, then you can figure out, okay, which of these combinations have the best like contribution margin and like gross margin for us, or do we have excess inventory in certain things? Is it a mystery gift where we could just then push out the excess stuff and then we can restock? Like, there's a bunch of ways you craft that offer by talking to the customers, talking to the community that we're saying. So
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I tell you, like, actually, I'm kind of neglecting to mention, like, the other thing we're doing right now is like actually testing the offers that we've been running during Black Friday. So like Amazon Prime Day was a prime example. Brands I own are not on Amazon. I'm not interested. Which is possibly, I'll be honest, I'm actually changed my mind on that. That's maybe another conversation for another time. But like, Prime Day was a prime example of us like testing our own offers. It was like 20% off. We're not on Amazon, but this is a shopping day. We know people are in that sort of mental space. They're out shopping. Okay, let's take advantage of that. Right now, in like back to school sales, same kind of thing. We're running like, a 3-4 day campaign and just testing like another offer. So we've done like the 20% off. Now we're maybe doing like buy two, get one free. And we'll look at that and again, see which performs better. What's resonating with the audience? What's the conversion rate like? Like how many people are coming through those ads and subscribing? How much is that building the list? All these kind of little touch points that we can test in the months running up to Black Friday. So when we get to Black Friday, we can look back at like the last 3 months of data and say, that was the offer that performed. Either, it was a straight discount that performed really, really well, or it was the buy two, get one. So, okay, maybe we take exactly that same offer, or we just put it, maybe it's like, I will get one free or something that we're going to do at Black Friday. Like, we know that structure and that campaign structure works.
Right. Yeah. I think it's good to just reiterate that you're testing the offer before Black Friday and you're not testing the offer on Black Friday. I think that will lead to overcomplication for yourself and for customers. You'll have to double all the work from landing pages, website copy, emails, texts, ads, how do I know which one's winning? And the first half of the day, this one's doing well. But man, that just sounds like a lot of effort and work for probably not the biggest squeeze in return of your time and resources. So I think it's good to mention that.
To be honest, full disclosure, I have done that in the past. I've totally been that person that got into a week before Black Friday, shit, I need an offer. Building it, getting into say we're doing a 4-day event, getting halfway through the first day, shit, this is not working. Throw it all out, start again. I've been that guy that's just sat in chaos, and I don't ever want to repeat it.
Yeah, so it's both theory and experience here. I've worked with clients in the past that have been very planned out and just cool, here's how we're going to execute the plan. We can spend more if it's working well, and if it's not, spend less. It's not shit, change out all these ads, change out the landing page, change out the URL. What do you think about this? And it's I'm not working on new stuff on Black Friday. No. I'm monitoring what's going on and either upping the spend or lowering the spend. That's about it.
That is, you're 100% right. That is definitely words of guidance that I would give to anybody now. Is if you're going into Black Friday with a strategy, stick to it. Do not start changing it halfway through, because you'll not only confuse the heck out of yourself, you will confuse everybody that's buying from you too. Because they come inside, they want it's one offer, they come back the next day, what happened?
Yeah. You don't want to. Then you get into the customer support, customer experience of I bought on this day and now the offer's better. Can I get that applied? And all that time and brand equity and all that stuff, you might end up losing money and time, and it may not be worth it anyway. Yeah. So I think that's really good. I think it's really smart. So we can keep touching on Black Friday as it keeps getting closer. We can get more specific with it as we go the next few weeks and months. Wanted to anything else you want to?
I'm curious from your side, the clients and stuff that you're working with or consulting with. What are you kind of doing at this point? Where is your head kind of at? Obviously, 80 days out or wherever we are.
Yeah, it's less about it's less about actually building those lists now, so to speak, for Black Friday. It's more about, hey, buy, just from a client side and client freelancer consultant perspective. It's, hey, by the way, Black Friday is coming up, just to make sure it's on
your radar.
on your radar. Like, there's only so many levers I can pull right this second, but like, let's start thinking about it. Let's talk about it. Let's make sure that we have a game plan. Let's talk about the game plan soon. Probably I want to start increasing spend in September and October, and just setting the expectation and making sure I communicate that our return will likely be lower than it normally is throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that's missed. And that can make client communications and relationships and brand freelancer, brand agency, all this stuff so chaotic, is like setting expectations appropriately. It's not just, hey, I'm going to ramp up spend. Well, why? Oh, we're not getting a good return today. Well, I'm not thinking about today, Mr. or Mrs. Client. It's Black Friday in 12 days, in 40 days. It's coming up. We are buying that cheaper traffic now. We know that like it's cheaper, and it can go 50% to 100x, like not 100x, 100% more, the same day, when all the big brands that normally don't spend as much throughout the year, the big conglomerates, everyone has like that like last second Black Friday, like that's the consumer time of the year. That's when everyone's wallet's out, their credit card's out, they're ready to go. Yeah. So that's how I'm trying to like think about it at this point, is just more trying to set expectations and communicate and start the process and the ball rolling. Because I can only do so much as a media buyer. Like, I can't go buy inventory for them. I can't tell them what their numbers are going to be in terms of. I can look at last year how we did. But that doesn't mean that's the same, right? So there's a way less stuff that levers I can pull right now. It's more about communication and expectation setting. So, and then just keeping an eye on what their cash flow situation's like and their inventory. And if, okay, cool, like shit, like actually for whatever reason, we shouldn't really ramp up. Cool, that's great to know. Then I won't recommend spending more because we can't sell that much more. So that's all good to know. And that's something I have to start asking, right? That's different than me just saying we're going to start spending more. Like, that's not my authority to just start spending their money for them.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm thinking about it, Tom. So
a quick reminder from our sponsor, ShareID. Find your next lifetime customers by providing verified discount codes based on occupation or life stage. Speak directly to veterans, students, teachers, first responders, and continue to tailor your messaging to them in the future with post-purchase emails and text messages. Make them feel seen with your brand by using ShareID to seamlessly verify their email in seconds during the purchase process. Go to shareid.com/Shopify and start your free trial today. A quick note from our sponsor. Just a little reminder that No Wave is the coffee for creativity, which us D2C folks need plenty of. Their signature flow state coffee is organic ground coffee with L-theanine. This is shown to help lower anxiety, improve brain function, and sharpen your focus. Tom and I have both tried it and have made it our coffee of choice when cranking on ad accounts and planning for big events like Black Friday. It's the perfect way to kickstart your workday, whether you're at the office or working from home. Go to nowave.co and use pod10 for 10% off your order. That is NOO wave.co and use code pod10 for 10% off your entire order.
Yeah, moving on a little bit, similar vein, Facebook ads. There's been some chatter, some discourse across the across the Twitter. I've seen a lot of people talking about prospecting and retargeting campaigns. Some people are saying retargeting's dead. I don't even use retargeting anymore on certain budgets. And I just wanted, just like last week, we talked about Klaviyo and all that stuff. Like, just wanted to get your thoughts on this general thing. If you have any, like, are you still using retargeting? Do you have any specific situations where you wouldn't? Just wanted to open that up a little bit.
I'll be honest, at the moment, it's varied. There are some accounts where we're still doing retargeting and it still works. Maybe on like much smaller budgets than we were using historically, and it's using, actually talking about Klaviyo, it's using far more of the integrations of like, taking people that are on the list that have not purchased and then connecting that segment over to a custom audience in Facebook. So, we may have like in an ad set, like targeting website visitors, people that engage with ads, people that watch certain things, and then also targeting the list. And we'll just throw that in a stack and retarget that to build their audience out. It is working. It is on smaller budgets that I would say that's working. By and large, like I'm starting to shift, and it's not a complete overall strategy. I can't say it's working on every account. By and large, like it's then just it's running ads essentially that are all prospecting in some ways. I know that it sounds a little naive, probably, to anybody that's kind of an advanced media buyer, has been in this for a while. But it's, at this point, building ads that match the audience. So, like, if I'm talking to runners, my creative is all for runners. The copy is all for runners. And then, like, I am throwing in, like, a stack of, like, remarket these people, exclude these people into that. So, and then I'm leaving, basically like advanced matching and all that sort of stuff like turned on. It wider audiences. Like if Facebook deems that someone else is perhaps interested in this, like go off and find them. Like I've definitely got to the point in the last few months, I'll be honest, of kind of just trying to get out of the way of Facebook as much as possible. I'll be honest, like a lot of this came from talking to the guys at Kinship and watching them like run our ad accounts. It really is like just hand the keys over and just let the machine get on with the damn thing. Like, put maybe like some guidance rails in place. Like for instance, bowling, like put the rails up if you need them. But once like the balls are going down, you're hitting strike after strike after strike, like drop them. If the ball wants to go somewhere else, like wants to go another lane, like just let it go.
That's great. That's a great way to think about it. And I share pretty similar thoughts on that. Is that it's retargeting can still be effective, and sometimes it's just like so effective of like your 5 or 10x return just for retargeting, and you're like, cool. Well, I don't want to turn this off, but I also know that I can't really scale it. So it's not like before that. It used to be this like how I used to think about budget allocation was like depending on your brand and AOV and size and all this other stuff and other channels. Like 60 to 80% of your budget, up to 90% is going to be prospecting, like hopefully brand new traffic.
Yep.
And so I just don't think it's that cut and dry. And it never was to begin with. Like 60 to 90% is still a huge range. So I think it's just more prospecting generally and generally less money on retargeting.
Yeah.
If you do end up having an offer, if you have other products that might make more sense to get them into the brand, that's not your one hero SKU or hero offer, that is just the bundle or the whatever's working for you. Like you can still have other ads and other stuff going on. So that's kind of generally, I agree with where your head's at, but it does depend by account basis.
Yeah, it does. And that's kind of the problem. It's not like this cure-all strategy, I would say, that is fundamentally working on every account. It really is a case of like, it's testing and see what works. I tell you, like one of the biggest things that we're actually doing right now is like not running exclusions on most ads. Or if we are, like it's very few.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one for a couple of reasons. I remember years ago having a conversation with the guys from Huel, big supplement brand here in the UK.
Yep.
And they were talking that they were actively like retargeting customers between 30 to 60 days. And again, like pulling that list from email as a customer audience into their prospecting ads. And it wasn't for the fact that like they wanted these people to repeat buy. It was they wanted the social proofs in the comments on those ads. And it's something that stuck with me a lot. It wasn't really something I put into practice, I'll be honest, until this year. And that's kind of what we find. By like removing those exclusions, like we're getting past customers to actually comment and give honest feedback, whether it's good or bad, or whether it's product feedback on things like they wish that we would address or improve, or something's gone missing. But in that capacity, like again, because like we genuinely do engage in every ad and we reply to the comments and everything feeds into Gorgias, and there is someone that's just on it within like 20 minutes of anything coming in. That actually gives us a chance to demonstrate in public like how we look after our customers, which I'm hypothesizing, but that seems to be bringing down ad costs and making those ads more efficient and actually building trust with new customers. Like I don't see it as a negative at this point. I don't feel like we're spending or wasting money on those people and like retargeting those people.
No, I think you're thinking about it the right way. And I think that there's still some brands that like
disable comments or like hide comments or don't allow them. And I think that's just defeating the purpose and point of the medium and the channel you're on. You're on social media. It's not a TV ad where you can't actually really talk to people unless they call the number on your screen. Or they're visiting your website and try to chat with you because they just saw the ad either from TV or Facebook, for example. So I just think that you're thinking about it the right way. And I think more brands should continue to encourage that and communicate. And of course, like, you hopefully don't want them to trash you or like bring up super specific issues that are like, oh, I just wish you would have emailed me about this. Like, I would happy to check your order number and like take care of you and email. Like, but yeah, sure, do it on the ad comment. Sure, I'll talk to you there too. You know, like, yeah, I understand there's a time and place for it, but yeah.
I mean, it's funny, you even saying that. I mean, we don't get me wrong. We definitely get that, and there's been a few instances actually just in the last week or two where, like, you know, we've had people just trolling us in the comments, and like, I used to get rid of a lot of that stuff, and I'll be honest, I missed. Well, I missed. VA missed one, didn't take it down, kind of left this thing running, and it was really interesting to actually see like existing customers basically come back and like fight our corner before we even got to it. There was like 20, 30 comments beneath this of just like justifying who we are, what we're doing, what the brand stands for, and everything we've achieved so far. It's like, I'm gonna leave that there. Like,
that's
again,
great.
It was so much social proof of like, you know, literally 30 customers just singing our praises. Like, sweet. Trolls more.
Yeah, and then like, that's so good. And you didn't tell them to do that. They didn't like they felt so compelled that they like your product, the brand, the people, whatever. And then you get to learn and see how they communicate about you.
Yeah, you do.
On your ad. So then you can either steal that language and that copy and be like, oh, this is how we should explain this. Like, I think we've talked about it a few weeks ago, but we're so close. We're so on the brand day in and day out. We don't always know how a brand new customer is going to perceive it. Like, this is all that's on our mind 24/7. We think we know the talking points, but like, those customer examples are real life examples on those ad comments. Huge. So really, really good. Really good chat there. And yeah, it's not retargeting. Probably still effective for a lot of brands, but it's not guaranteed, and it's not nearly as high of a budget, to kind of recap the start of that point. No. So
one thing, I know we're kind of running out of time. The other thing I was going to ask you, have you played with Advantage Plus accounts or Advantage Plus campaigns at this point? Have you got any experience with them yet?
Not yet.
No?
No.
To be honest, I'm dabbling with them. And initially, like, we got access to them back in April, I think it was, that we first started.
Okay.
I don't know how we got access. We were not supposed to. Every time I talk to a rep, she's like, I don't even know what these are. But like, I can say genuinely, they are performing a lot better than anything else that we're running.
Really?
And again, for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, Advantage Plus is basically like Facebook's. They initially wrote it out as like it was just a name change. It seems to be more to do with actually the algorithm and how these ads are approaching. It's just leaning into more machine learning even more. I can tell you, like, retargeting on that does seem to be performing a lot better. And in-platform attribution seems to be performing a lot better with that. Again, it's early days, but if you've got access to it and you kind of think like it's not even worth looking at, like, it is. Genuinely just play with it, test it, again, like everything else in the ad account, but just put a small amount of budget behind it and see what works.
Nice.
I was very skeptical, but it seems to be paying off.
Skeptical until proven otherwise is a good way to approach basically any new feature from any advertising platform, not just Mr. Zucks and but Google and TikTok and Snapchat and all these. It's like, oh, brand new feature. Whoa, this is gonna change. Like, there's gonna be bugs. There's gonna be stuff that doesn't work. But at the same time, like, if what you are doing isn't working and it hasn't been working for a while, then test it out. Just one last note on that is I did see people were like, it looks like it's performing well, but it's a lot of view through attribution. So it's just something to keep in mind, to double check. And if you're only on Facebook, then maybe that's not the worst thing, but just something to keep in mind. So good point there on Advantage Plus, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that later on as the months go. Last one, more of a fun one. We got a tweet from
Hey, it's Alex P, and she writes the No Best Practices newsletter. She's super freaking smart. She comes from like 10 plus year retail background and has been on Twitter the last couple of years and has been really an awesome community not even team member, community member. And so she added a cool tweet of, and it's a hypothetical, right? So if I gave you 100 points to build the perfect D2C brand, how would you distribute them across? And then she lists a bunch. So product, logistics, talent, acquisition marketing, retention marketing, brand, web experience, operations, promos. And then she kind of cheekily says, now go check your answer against last month's income statement. So I think the way I want to approach this and how I want to go just to chit chat and banter the next few minutes is just from a brand new start. We're starting a brand together tomorrow, Tom. Like, where are we spending our 100 points? What are we focusing on? You answer, then I'll answer, and we'll kind of.
God damn, I was going to ask you to go first.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go first. I'll start. Okay.
All right.
So, I ultimately agree that I looked at comments and have been following this thread for a couple days, but I think, okay, it's a hypothetical question. Mm-hmm. I know my talent as the operator who would be running this, right? I know my strengths and weaknesses. So I am not the person to make something with my hands or create or invent something new. So I'm going to need more points into product and logistics, right? My talent is acquisition marketing, caring about customers, strategy, how the dots connect throughout the customer funnel, and thinking of ways to iterate creatively and to keep acquiring new customers and to keep past customers, right? So knowing my strengths and my experience, I would put like 40 to 50 points in product, and then at least 10 in logistics. So say 40 and 10, right? Like that's 50 points. So that's half of my 100 points gone so far. I'm going to be the talent for acquisition marketing in the beginning, and then and retention marketing. I mean, you can get a lot done with basic like Klaviyo flows that aren't super fancy, well designed, because that's not my strength. But I think I could do the basics enough and put my points elsewhere. So then where else I would also put a lot of points is the brand and web experience. So those are two different ones, but again, not a designer, not a developer, but I can speak to those people and kind of work with them to figure out how to make a good brand and a web experience, depending on the product. So I'm not the one that's going to sit there in Photoshop and Illustrator and like, all right, here's your new brand palette. Like, it looks sick. Like, no, like, but I can say, oh, I like this. I don't like this. Like, let's look at these brands, that sort of stuff, and then see how it applies to who we're going after as our customer. So I'm thinking 30 points between those two. So I'm up to 80, 15 and 15, for example, brand and web. So that's 80 points gone. So I would throw in like 10, like the last 10 or 20 points. I'd throw into talent, short form content creators, and say, hey, you're the face of TikTok. You're the face of YouTube. We're going to start cranking out organic content, long form and short form. You make a bunch of shit. You make content, become part of the community and engage with other people. And you start building that arm, and I'll go run the ads. I'll take care of email, and I'll work with the people to build a full site that's mobile friendly. It's mobile first, loads fast, all that apps and stuff, right? That's my 100. I have nothing on promos because we're not going to retail because it's just D2C yet. So like no discounts or, and nothing on operations, which is like, I don't really even know. Like I put my points in logistics. So I don't know what operations would be. If it's just me at the start with like a couple content creators, I think that's fine. I don't think it would need much ops for that, but that's just how I would start. And then that would change over time as we grow and go. But that's how I would start my brand if I got to be able to do this tomorrow. So that's how I went first. So you got to see what I was thinking. Any thoughts before you move on to yours?
Yeah, it's definitely got the wheel spinning. I'll be honest. It's funny. I only saw this for the first time today, and I think you're right. I'm just looking through a couple of the comments as you were speaking, and Taylor Sickard, I can see, is like one of the first that's in there, and he's saying, basically it depends so much on like what stage of the journey you're at. He's got like to build versus grow versus scale all required a wildly different distribution of points, and he's
Yep.
right. And you even just touched on it there of like the point at like when you're getting started is very different to when you're like a few months in. Like the focus shifts so fast, and I think that's I think just in like this community, we do a bad job of like talking in absolutes. Like everybody has to run the business the same way. It's terrible advice. Somebody that's starting out, that's bootstrapping, is in a wildly different place to someone that is starting out with 10 people on the team. They've just raised like a $5 million valuation. There is such different points that it's impossible to give the same advice to the same two people.
Absolutely.
My world, I'll be honest, is by and large like it's the bootstrappers, it's the guys and girls that are trying to build businesses for the first time, because that's where I started. Like that's my path. That's the one I know. That's my truth. But I think you're right. Like I put so much emphasis into product because I think you and I have both seen. We've kind of come across brands that have done a quote unquote like bad job of running Facebook ads. And I know before we got on this call, we were kind of talking about this a little bit, but that still with a great product have achieved fantastic numbers, even running like crappy ads.
Multi-million-dollar revenue, just up 7 figures and above, because they figure out the product, they figure out the brand, figure out the customer, and they just put the ads out there and didn't fuck with Facebook too much. And like, didn't to put it simply, and just to like, I'm gonna like, this is my perfect media buying strategy. Like, they have 10 ads in there for the last year, and like 2 of them have over 100K spend each. And like, those are the ones that are working. Like, sometimes we're so in our own way, so in our own head. So, okay, you would put a lot into product. How much? About how much?
Honestly, I think I'd be with you. I think like probably about 40 of those points, 40 out of the 100 points, I would probably put in a product.
Okay.
And it's funny, you touched on something else with like, Klaviyo and email flows. I know guys that are running 8-figure brands with text-only emails. And it, honestly, God, it blows my mind, because I go into the back end and I see their accounts and I see the numbers and I talk to them about like margins and what it costs them to acquire a customer. And again, like they're running shitty ads, shitty flows, and they're killing it. Because the thing that they focused on was building a brand. And I don't mean a brand that looks pretty and is designed well. Like I know of several guys that have literally spent like $200 on a Fiverr designer, basically, to go out and build a brand. And by brand, I mean like, choose the colors, pick a logo. The brand has come through with like trust and actually looking after the customers and just building this great product, which built more trust, which built the brand. And they found the direction along the way. They didn't polish everything to begin with, and they're still there. I'll be honest. It blows my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so 40 in product, and does that mean you're not putting that much into brand, or what's your next point allocation? Because for me, I would take in mind like your skill set, your background, right? Like where are you strongest in? Where do you not need to spend points?
I think I think from like my standpoint, it's changed a lot. I think I spent a lot of time focusing on acquisition, a lot of time focused on retention, and I think through that, I have put a big focus on logistics. I'll be honest, a huge focus. The conversation I had last Thursday when I was in London was talking a lot about like the unboxing experience as being like the only one like tangible moment you have of connection with your customer. We have email, we have SMS, we have all the ads, we have all the digital side of things. But the thing that I can actually pick up and hold in my hands and see and feel and smell or taste or whatever the product is, that unboxing experience and the fact that it gets to me in either like 2 days or it's 7 weeks, that experience to me is very, very, very different.
Huge. The quote that will stand out and is burned into my mind, I don't know if he was the original one to say it, but it got popular because of Taylor Holiday, was the unboxing experience is the only part of the customer journey that has a 100% open rate.
I love that. That's perfect. Yeah.
Any ad, any email, any SMS will never get 100%.
No.
And so if you actually have a customer who bought the product, they're going to be the one that opens it, unless it's a gift, which is
If you're a gift brand, then okay, but someone else is still opening it.
Yeah.
That's huge. So I think that's underlooked and still underrated at times. But just to again play devil's advocate, not in absolutes. I know of a brand that is over 30 billion that is white basic mailers, no unboxing experience, no fancy nothing, and it's basic, and the product is king and queen above everything. And so it's just like, cool, got the product, it works, sweet. So it's like, even as we're saying here, we just said 3 minutes ago, we talk in absolutes and we don't need to do that. And then here we are, like seconds later, like, it's all about the unboxing experience, bro. I don't know. I just want to throw that out there as like, to just make sure that you don't take everything we say so seriously and like so it's a gospel. Yeah.
No. Like you said, like, would you say, all right, just taking like that brand, we're going to name it by any stretch.
Yeah.
Do they deliver quickly?
Yeah, and it's they deliver pretty quickly. Yeah.
Okay, so there is that advantage. Would you say they cared about it more when they were first starting? Like, do you think that's maybe drifted over time, where like initially, like first 1,000 customers, they were like obsessing over the unboxing experience?
No. I think it's literally been just ignored the whole time. I think that's just how they started. That's the cheapest way it started out.
Huh.
And it worked. And like they just focused on everything else. And then now it's like, well, it's still working. Why would we spend more dollars per thing if no one's complained about it? If no one's asking for the unboxing experience. So I think ultimately, if you're building the perfect D2C brand, as the question implies, I think that is one thing to keep in mind, because that is part of we get more organic posts, we get more loyalty, we get more hype, we get more stuff if we have a good unboxing experience. And if it works for your brand and product.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I'm going back to like the first podcast that you and I did together, and we were talking about like, basically like if you were marketing, like which 3 channels would you focus on? And I think this is almost the same. Like, I think there's so many different ways and so many different combinations and like allocations of this that they all win. Like there are so many ways to win. There's so many ways to build the 7-figure or 8-figure or 9-figure brand. Like there really are. And I think this is kind of exactly what we're getting to. Like you can obsess over product and that can win. And you can obsess over the logistics and that can win. Like those 2 things together can build you a very profitable, healthy business.
Yep.
Equally, like you could have a shitty product, but if you are an amazing copywriter, an amazing marketer, and you're still drop shipping from China, like again, I know guys that do this. That run literally 8-figure brands at like a 30% net margin, and they are laughing all the way to the bank and back. Like they know what their talent is. They lean into it, and like that's the thing that worked for them. Like, I know it's ambiguous. I know it feels like a scapegoat, but like there are so many different ways to win in this game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So there's no one way. This is an awesome hypothetical, but so it's been fun to chat and talk about. Where would most of your points go besides product logistics? And because you would be not even logistics. You have logistics, you have acquisition, you have retention. Mm-hmm. Where do you kind of spend that last little bit of points, and then we can wrap up?
Probably web experience. I'd say that's one thing that definitely I've become more and more focused on over the years. I think really just because like the difference between like a 1% and a 2% conversion, like that small thing is literally like a doubling in your business, which is huge. And I'll be honest, I neglected it for such a long time. I kind of figured like, if people are interested in the product, like they'll come back. We'll just badger them to hell with Facebook ads and emails and SMS, and eventually they'll just come back and buy.
Yeah.
Whereas like now I'm like, we should be running some kind of A/B testing. Like we should actually invest in an audit report, invest in a designer to actually come in and execute this, and a developer that can do this and do it well. Like I want a site that's loading stupidly quickly, so that if somebody's looking at me versus the competitor, like they've already decided by the time like half the website's loaded, they're already on it. They're into it. That has become a far bigger thing in me, and I think a lot of that actually came out of like this whole iOS nightmare that so many of us fell into, with ad costs going through the roof. Of like, shit, if I'm now spending £40 to acquire a customer, like, and I used to spend 20, I now either need like to stay at the same margin and the same rate of growth, I need to figure out a way to either like double my conversions or double what everybody's spending. And
Right.
the easiest lever to pull was really like, well, let's just double the amount of people that convert. Like, I know we've been lazy. We've not put time into this. It's kind of been like the last thing I ever invested in because I was doing it myself and like, goodbye. Yeah. So yeah, short answer to a long speech. It
Yeah.
would be web experience,
Well, yep, that makes a ton of sense, especially with mobile being a thing,
and
and
especially with mobile.
like depending on your brand and product, like so many kids and teenagers are just growing up with freaking iPhones and iPads and devices and stuff. Like their internet, they're chronically online, and now even as people are getting older, in air quotes, like they are learning how to use this stuff, and you have to make sure that your brand makes sense and like your text is big enough, and if you're speaking to that customer. So even in this answer, where I super agree with you, it depends. So Tom, thanks for an awesome episode. A little bit longer than usual, but a lot of good stuff. Talked Black Friday, talked Cyber Monday, talked about expanding the UK, Facebook ad campaigns, and a hypothetical perfect bread situation. So a lot of good stuff. Thanks everyone else. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Please drop us your feedback, your questions, your comments. We'd love to answer them on the show. We'd love to chat with you, and would love to just keep jamming with you each and every week. So we'll catch you next time.
Definitely, man. Cheers.